Hi guys, somebody was asking me about the Tommy Robinson thing this morning. I've got to go over some stuff because I do find this is why I don't get too involved in this too much. Is because a lot of stuff gets skewed and then people get upset when I actually talk about it. What you've got is Tommy Robinson was well aware that he was in breach of a former legal issue where a judge had bound him over. I assume he was on a order bound to keep the peace, which is one that they use quite a lot in the UK. You know, if you're falling drunk and being a nuisance, you'll often find that if you go to court, they'll say, "Don't be a bad boy for 6 months. You're bound over to keeping the peace. If you don't behave, you'll be back in front of me." And that is very common for being bound to keep the peace in the UK. And they use it for all sorts. Like I said, even if you're drunk and doing something silly. Now, in Tommy's case, he was well aware what he was doing, from what I could see. I mean, he went into when he was actually questioned by the judge about this and pleaded guilty. So from that point alone, he'd actually made himself guilty by admitting it. By admission. Now, I want to follow on from that. The UK has a blanket thing on this stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with it. And I don't know why this gets special cases. Because I do find that a lot of stuff gets in the media relating to rape cases. And even when somebody's found not guilty, afterwards, you get very little. You know, you're already accused, you're already assumed, blah, blah, blah. When the newspaper is forced to put an apology at page 5 or whatever, they still all think you're a rapist or whatever because of the way the media's covered it. So I do think there is double standards going on here, don't get me wrong. And I'm not a fan of the British legal system, do not get me wrong. But one of the things you need to understand is the legal system is there, and if you want to beat the legal system, it's quite simply understanding how the laws work, understanding how to protect yourself from it. Now, Tommy Robinson reporting on the steps on an ongoing case, does not constitute what somebody was bringing up today. Because what they're on about is Tommy Robinson's appeal, because the judge was talking about it on Radio 4, I think, BBC Radio 4, and as if his mind's already made up about Tommy Robinson, and he's talking about it on the live radio where he arrested this guy, Tommy Robinson, for doing something similar relating to the grooming case. Completely different things. The grooming case is an ongoing case. Tommy Robinson, by admission, said he was guilty and now at an appeal, so he's already convicted. So it's not a case of this is at the same level, because the court case is an ongoing case where somebody could or couldn't be guilty. When you admit you're guilty and then are convicted and then go to appeal, then you can discuss that, because it's how the legal system works, whether we like it or not. And as I say, I'm not a fan of the legal system, and I do think that it does actually kill people sometimes. I do think there are certain things relating to legal cases. I think even the British government have some ongoing ones from the 80s relating to some of the medication that some people received that had deformities and stuff, where, from my personal opinion, and I do stress my very, very own personal opinion, this is the sort of thing you have to do, they're dragging the cases out to let people die. Because while the pharmaceutical cases are ongoing, people are dying, which means the payout gets less and less the more years it gets dragged on. So, no, do not assume that I'm a fan of the legal system. I am not. But what I do understand is you need to be smarter than the average person out there. Although the grooming case was a major issue, Tommy already knew there was a good chance he was going to get arrested. And he's got a lot of publicity off it, but in my own personal view, what he should have actually done is got Joe Bloggs to go. Joe Bloggs is a member of the public, and he was unaware of the case until he just happened to be walking past there with his bag of fish and chips in his hand on the way home, and somebody said, "Oh, there's this male grooming case on here today." Sorry, yeah, it's male grooming case, not grooming males, but they're all men. And go, "Oh, what do you mean?" So, "Oh, this is going on," and you stick it on YouTube, and you put the broadcast out there. Said, "Well, I was just on the way home, and I just happened to be outside this court, and I was just talking to this guy that was just walking past, and he was saying about this. Did you know this was going on today?" And you do it in a way which makes it very genuine. Firstly, you're on your own walkway, public footpath. You're not breaking any laws. You're doing a broadcast which has no high pitch or anything to it. It's like this. And you can record people's faces and stuff, because you can actually even turn around and says, "Are you one of the alleged people for this case today?" and that sort of stuff. You're asking them a question. Because when you use things like alleged and stuff, you're not stating facts, because the case is ongoing. So, and you're thinking, well, why would you do all that? Because at the end of the day, I'm a member of public, stood on the sidewalk, minding my own business. Somebody makes me aware of something that's going on, like even if I was watching a concert, let's just say, and I record the concert on my phone. Am I going to get copyright issues that the concert is actually right in front of me? Probably later on, but I'm not really doing anything illegal. At the same time, if I do get dragged up in court when they say, "Oh, well, this case is ongoing and you've been recording and putting it on YouTube and stuff, live broadcast," I simply go, "I didn't do anything. I was just outside. I was just walking on my way home." And somebody mentioned it to me. Who mentioned it to you? I don't know. They've gone. Now, having that ability to deny all knowledge, having the ability to turn around and say, "I was completely unaware of this being a legal issue, and I am not a journalist, so I wouldn't know anyway," it's the sort of thing that the courts really struggle to deal with. Because when you turn around and lack the knowledge, in the sense of, how can you convict me for something I was unaware of? And I was stood on the public side, public footpath, outside of a building. I did not say any of these people are convicted. I did not say anything untoward, but simply recorded what I seen as a member of public on the sidewalk. It becomes more difficult, because the judge is looking at somebody that is simply a member of the public. Because that's when you start going, so at what point did I break the law? And they have to think about that. But if you actually go out there well aware that you're in breach of a previous court, a previous court case, they've got you over a barrel at day one. Now, the other thing somebody brought up was the delay with the court appeal. That's normal in the UK. Do not worry about that. They will delay stuff on purpose, and they will delay it because, in my personal opinion, maybe the judge wanted an extra couple of hours to play golf. But the point being is, that's normal. Do not think he's being victimised for that. They do it all the time. If you want to see stuff that's really bad, you want to look at the immigration centre, the deportation centres in the United Kingdom. How they get treated is terrible. People get stuck there indefinitely. It's worse than prison, because at least with prison you've got a sentence of a fixed period. Deportation centre, they don't even know when they're going, because it's relying on paperwork and stuff, and it should be processed in 1 week. Should. And I think it was the person who was in charge of that in the 90s said that should be ongoing. But some of those people get stuck there for years, to the point they commit suicide. So, for me, I would have to say, think smarter. That's all I can say on that. Think smarter. And I've got to admit, I have tried talking to some of the guys within the Tommy Robinson groups, because when people talk about becoming a power in the UK in the sense of running for government, need to understand that it's the same as UKIP and others. If you have a single focus, you will never have that happen. Now, don't get me into the realms of people asking me about what. So you're trying to get him elected as prime minister? You couldn't get elected as prime minister. You need an entire party. The UK is a two-party system. You would need to have enough votes in enough areas to make that happen. That ain't gonna happen. And I know I may get flack for saying that, but that's the reality. You need to understand that if you want change, and I know a lot of people have issues around specific things in the UK, it has to come from within, in the sense that you can't fight an entire system that is built on, I mean, I don't even know when the parliament was formed. Let's put it this way, the actual building needs billions spent to renovate it, so it's not a new system. But its political shift has worsened over years. I do think that if you want reforms, you've got to look at the politicians you already have, and you've got to look at, if you haven't got enough politicians there, where can you win elections and build it from there. And then you've got to look at manifesto and developing a proper legal entity. In the sense that a political party cannot be focused on one thing, because this is why things unravel and becomes very difficult to get elected, because it's how politics works. This is why things in politics are often about stagnation rather than change. Because stagnation means everybody's happy, because you cannot keep everybody happy, but you can keep everybody at a level that isn't really changing, and that will guarantee votes. But when you start shifting things, you're changing the entire environment, and that's what's different. But I do recommend that if you are from the Tommy Robinson camp, get some people on board that actually understand the legal system.